more about the MassHealth program. We're here to talk about how critically important MassHealth is to the health of the individual members and to the overall economic vitality of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's one of the cornerstones of our healthcare system, and it's been at the center of our health reform efforts. For those of you who are just getting to know the program, please know that it provides affordable coverage for medical, behavioral health, and community-based services for 1.7 million Massachusetts residents. About 25% of the Commonwealth's residents of the population rely on MassHealth for their health care. And we're at a critical point for the program right now, because between now and the end of the year, 1.2 million people are up for renewal, which means they have to fill out brand new applications to be able to maintain their healthcare coverage. Healthcare for All is working with MassHealth to make sure this process goes as smoothly as possible and doesn't result in any folks losing coverage or falling through cracks when they're in fact eligible for coverage. We know MassHealth comes up in budget discussions all the time because it's an enormous and vitally important program. And today we want to make sure you have an opportunity to be introduced to the program and its impact on individuals. So we're going to talk about it not just as a number in the budget, but in fact a program that provides real services to real people and makes a discernible difference in the lives and outcomes for the folks of Massachusetts. The future of MassHealth is important for all of us, and I'm delighted to be able to introduce two members for whom this has become their work and about which they have provided leadership for a very long time, and to whom we are grateful to be able to be in this space. So please let me introduce Chairman Jeffrey Sanchez from Jamaica Plain, who's the newly appointed House Chair for the Joint Committee of Healthcare Finance, has been a marvelous friend to Healthcare for All. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Chairman. I'm also delighted to be able to introduce Senator Harriet Chandler from Worcester. She is the newly appointed Senate Majority Leader. She too has been a longtime supporter of health reform efforts and a champion for oral health in the Commonwealth. We owe a great debt of gratitude to Senator Chandler. She's been, thank you. We will get to full restoration of dental services for MassHealth members because of the championship of Senator Chandler. So please, without further delay, let me introduce and thank both of our Senate members. Thank you so much, and the Chairman. I believe you'll begin. Go right.
Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Sanchez. It's great to see this room full. I'm blown away. You know, and so now I know what do I got to do to make sure this room is full. We're talking about MassHealth, right? You know, MassHealth is a big program, and you know, watch out. Take in what you hear today. Take in what you hear today, because it's a complex program. Because the challenges that people face that are members of this program are pretty complex as well. Make no mistake about it, MassHealth serves the poorest and those folks that need the most. This is the program that is growing unsustainably. But there's a lot of good that happens out of this program. And we have to stay focused on making sure that we live up to the ideals of what MassHealth is about and the ideals of what we embarked on when we started with Chapter 258 back in the early 2000s, which was to ensure the population, also to seek the quality, and also to bend the cost curve. So as we look at some of the ideas that are coming now, and we look at the perspectives broadly, take in what you're hearing here today. Really take it in. Grab a few ideas. Grab a few perspectives, and run with them. That's why we're here. We're here to learn, because all of us are going to have to take on the challenges that face MassHealth and the challenges that face the most underserved people in the Commonwealth. I'm happy and proud that I've been able to do a lot of the work that I've done so far as chairman of the Committee of Public Health with champions like Senator Chandler. She has been here for a while working on these issues when not very many people were really focused. And I want to thank you personally for serving as a role model to me and so many others here in this building for so many years. The resources that you're going to have here are pretty powerful. I see Kate Nordahl, I see Audrey Sholto from Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation. Some of the publications that have come out there, we just did a recent one, talking about the future of Medicaid. Pick these resources up. Get to know, not only did that, they've been following health reform from Chapter 58 back in the 2000s and even before that to now. And they come up with yearly reports. Get to know the program, because this program, if there's anything that we do, it's not just going to be my committee, it's not just going to be the Senators Committee, it's going to be all of our committees that are going to have to step up to do something to make sure, again, that we're taking care of the most challenged populations and that we're improving quality and that we're, again, figuring out how to bend that cost curve. So I want to thank Healthcare for All, the ACT Coalition, and all of you that have taken the time to come out here today so that we can really take on and really make a difference in people's lives here in the Commonwealth. So with no further ado, I'll pass to my Senate friend, Senator Harriet Chandler. Thank you.
We are very lucky to have in his position Chairman Sanchez. He is going to do a great job in healthcare finance and policy, and we look forward to it. He sings very well. Hear him the other day. But I'm delighted to be here, and I do want to announce that I saw Representative Donato. Representative?
There he is.
Right there.
Yay.
Thank you for coming. The fact that people are almost hanging off the rafters here says a great deal about the groups that are putting this together. It also says a great deal about how important healthcare is in this session. It's not just this session, it's been important for many years. But this session, it's really all coming to a head. It's coming to a head as we move forward with the Affordable Care Act, as we in the legislature are concerned about how do you balance quality and cost and access and make it all happen. Excuse me. And we turn to groups like Healthcare for All. I have to say a word about Healthcare for All, if you don't mind, because when they're with you as a legislator with a bill, you know that you're going to have a huge, huge coalition built under their auspices. They care about people who are in need, the people who don't have voices, as the chairman has just said, and it is very important for us to hear their message, and it's very important for the variety of people here, the diversity of people here, to carry that message to the legislators. I'm here today to not only tell you how wonderful Healthcare for All as an act is and MassHealth is, but to tell you about two bills that I'm carrying. I co-chair the Oral Health Caucus, and I've done that for a number of years, and hopefully have made it possible for oral health to get its proper place in the various other programs that we have. Oral health, the mouth is basically the window to the body, and frankly, people suffer needless pain if they don't have oral health, and I'm embarrassed to say we still have a number of people in this Commonwealth, young and old, and people in between, who really aren't getting enough access to oral health. And that's something we hope to change. So one of the two bills that I'm here to talk about is House 2062, an act relative to the restoration of MassHealth adult dental benefits. We're talking about going back to 2002, that's 13 years ago, to restore within its covered services for adults all federally optional services that were included in a state plan or demonstration program in effect on January 1st, 2002, including all dental services. We have to go back that far to get these services covered. That's rather pathetic, but that's exactly what we need to do. So covered services for adults in the MassHealth program, essential program, will include dental services to the same extent as such services were covered for adults in the MassHealth basic program as of January 1st, 2002. Please support it. It's very 1530, an act relative to the cost reduction in the Medicaid program by improving early childhood oral health. The bill aims to designate the Executive Office of Health and Human Services to design a pilot program for preventive dental care to protect children on MassHealth against early cavities. If we can instill in children good oral health, if we can catch those cavities early, our idea is early prevention and education will significantly reduce adult dental costs for Massachusetts patients. In other words, you pay up front or you pay somewhere down the road, and it's a lot cheaper to pay up front. So I ask you to not forget oral health issues, both for children and for adults, and we will hopefully have a very successful year. Thank you so much. Thank you to our host today.
We also want to please join me in thanking Rep. Tennant, who's been in the room. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate that, and I beg your pardon for overlooking your presence. And Representative Cullinane has also joined us. The other thing is, I just want to pile on something that Chairman Sanchez said. And thank Audrey Shelto from the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Foundation for joining us, and also to point out and be able to thank publicly the foundation for investing tremendous resources in helping us understand what the experience of MassHealth is and what an incredible difference it's made across the Commonwealth. So please know we are grateful to the foundation for their continuing support. The other brief announcement before I move on to our extraordinary experts is lots of people at Healthcare for All have worked in this building. They've been staff members, so they understand how important briefing materials are. I want to make sure you know, if you have signed in, we know that we have run out of materials, but we will be happy to send them to you. So please make sure we know you're in the room, and we'll be able to follow up with you. So one of the things that Healthcare for All is incredibly grateful for are the consumers who will come and explain to us what the impact of particular policies are on their lives and on their overall health. And we are extraordinarily fortunate this morning to be joined by Diane Sullivan, who will talk about her experience with MassHealth. So please join me in welcoming Diane Sullivan.
I promised to stay scripted this morning because if I had you all in the room even for 2 hours, actually it'd probably take me about 10 to say everything that I needed to say about particularly the impacts of poverty and homelessness on the health of children and families in the Commonwealth. But not really, remain scripted. Good morning. As I was introduced, my name is Diane Sullivan. I want to thank Matt and Suzanne at Healthcare for All for inviting me to be here today, and of course to Senator Chandler and to Representative Sanchez for all of you on behalf of healthy families here in Massachusetts. I am the part-time policy director with Homes First Families, a small nonprofit organization with 3.5 employees, and where health insurance is simply not available to me and my family. I supplement my income by doing some side contracted work, but it's just not enough for me to basically survive. My work is primarily focused on solutions to homelessness. Some of you may know me as that MRVP lady, Mass Rental Voucher Program. Those house-shaped cookies that you received in your offices a couple of weeks ago, the ones stamped with $100 million for MRVP, that was me. But today I'm going to shift hats a little bit and get a little bit more personal with you. I've shared my story of my experience with homelessness before, and I've shared how frustrating and demoralizing it can be to sometimes seek the supports of programs like SNAP. But something I have never shared publicly is around my health and the health of my children. Of course, why would I? It's such a personal thing. Well, in my work, I have come to know that anything publicly funded that supports poor families is subject to certain scrutiny, often beyond reason. And the stories of those impacted are sometimes lost in a soundbite, often negatively impacting the minds of the voting public, which ultimately impacts the minds of those walking the halls of this building. So I do not share my story because I really want to. I share it because I feel that I have to. Born just over a year apart, my daughter Victoria and son Gabriel are probably as close as two teenage siblings could possibly be. At 13 and 14 years old, they ride the same school bus together, they share the same group of friends, they play the same sports together, and they share the same medical condition. Each has been diagnosed with a heart murmur, murmur, Couture's in infancy, Gabriel's later into childhood, as he began to experience difficulty with his breathing. Couture's heart was regularly monitored early on by her pediatrician, where thankfully at early stages there was no change over time and no cause for additional concern. As a family, we churned in and out of MassHealth and private insurance coverage throughout the years. And there were times when we simply went without coverage at all. So after a large gap of not having insurance, I applied and was found eligible for MassHealth. It had been some time since the kids had been to the cardiologist that they used to see regularly. At the next visit, I could see the look of concern on the pediatrician's face as he listened to Couture's heart. We were immediately referred to, without delay, to Tufts Medical for EKG that led to an immediate referral for an ultrasound. Her heart murmur seemed to have worsened. Of course, as any parent would, I went through the guilt of feeling that I could have somehow prevented it, and at the same time, we went through the same process with Gabriel. Though his heart murmur was new to us and was less concerning to the doctors. So together they were monitored regularly. And at our last visit, I saw a rather different look on the face of the doctor as he listened to Couture's heart, one of confusion. Against most odds, her murmur seemed to be improving with her age, something the doctor said just isn't normal. And for myself, I am generally a healthy individual, and while generally keeping my children on schedule for annual checkups when health insurance was available to us, I never really made myself a priority. Keeping up with, as most parents will tell you, keeping up with my own and my children's hectic schedules was overwhelming enough. But a woman with a family history as mine is often reminded of the need to pay attention. My paternal grandmother died of cancer before I was born. 10 years ago, at the age of 56, my father died of colon cancer. 4 years later, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 37, and thankfully overcame her long and grueling battle with the disease. So as I approached the age of 40, I decided to again apply for MassHealth. I had gone for years without coverage at this point, and I decided to face my fears of the unknown head on and go through all of the necessary screenings that were available to me through the coverage that I was eligible for. I won't go into too much detail, but there was reason to be concerned about my health. And a medical procedure, well, there were a few, but surgery was ultimately necessary. Thankfully, everything has turned out all right for me, and the cancer scare is no longer present. And thankfully, the coverage that was available to me and to my children in a time when private medical insurance was simply not available to us. I am here to ask for your support for both the legislative and the budget considerations that healthcare for all presents to you today, which, by the way, do include that $100 million ask for MRBP. I ask you to consider that MassHealth may have just saved my life. Not to over-dramatize my situation, but my family's medical history does that enough for me. It may allow me the opportunity to one day see my young grandson, yes, I'm a grandmother, and my future grandchildren, because yes, I hope there will be many more, graduate from high school, a privilege that was denied to both my grandmother and my father. MassHealth does save lives. The story is that simple. I want to thank you all for hearing me out. I am the face behind the line item. I wish I had brought a picture of my beautiful, gorgeous children. And I ask you to remember me, my children, as you and your colleagues go through your upcoming debate and your legislative priorities. But I want to mention, now I'm going to go off script a little bit. I just left an event this morning that MDHP put on, Metropolitan Boston Housing Partnership. And I was shocked to find out, I know that we have almost 2,000 homeless families living in hotels right now across the state. And I was shocked, I'm pleased, but was shocked and disappointed to know that Boston Healthcare for All Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program just opened up a primary care pediatrician site in a motel. We now have a primary care unit for children in a motel. And while I'm grateful that they're filling the gap that's needed, we really need to consider how access to health coverage and access to these services are benefiting or not our children. So I want to thank you all again for your time this morning.
Thank you, Diane. Please note, Diane could be knows the MassHealth program inside and out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll stand over here. Great, well, thank you so much for all being here. This is really wonderful to share. There's such a focus, and I really appreciate the leadership of Representative Sanchez and Senator Chandler in pulling this together and hosting this. This was a really great thing. I'm Kate Nordahl, Senior Director for the Massachusetts Medicaid Policy Institute. We're a program of the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts Foundation. And our mission at MMPI is to expand the understanding of this important program in the states and the coverage that it provides to so many. And we do that through various educational materials, in-depth policy briefs and papers, and other resources. The next slide, so I'm just going to walk through a couple of high-level slides to give some context to the conversation. So MassHealth right now serves 1.9 million people. There is a process underway, as Amy had mentioned, to go through a redetermination of a significant portion of those individuals. And really it touches the lives of 1 in 4 residents of the Commonwealth. And you can see in other populations, subpopulations, even more of those. These materials are, I have a 2-page sort of infographic that's outside if you want to pick that up on your way out. The next slide shows the diversity of the members that are served by the MassHealth program. So third are kids. Growing population are adults without disabilities, so almost 40% now with the expansion under the ACA to all low-income individuals in the state. And then there are a sizable portion who really have significant needs from a disabling condition that affects their physical, emotional, intellectual health. And then also there are about 10% for seniors. But a point I want to make here is to keep in mind when you're thinking about 1 in 4 of people in Massachusetts are being served by the Medicaid program is the fact that a sizable portion of people on MassHealth have other insurance that's primary. So 1 in 4 people who have Medicare have MassHealth that helps to pay for their Medicare premiums and co-payments and deductibles. And there are also people who have private employer-sponsored insurance that MassHealth is helping to pay for their share of the premium. And for people with disabilities, many of them may have Medicare or may have other insurance, and then MassHealth wraps around that to provide critical coverage that's missing in their private insurance or their Medicare insurance, such as extensive behavioral health services or long-term support services that are generally not covered under insurance. The next slide puts into perspective what you see and hear a lot about, because we're very engaged with the state talking about, is the significant portion of the budget that MassHealth consumes or requires. Again, another point to always keep front of mind when you think about the portion of the budget is that it's a jointly state and federal partnership program. The federal government, for each dollar that we spend, we get 50 cents or 90 cents, depending on the kind of expenditure, even as much as 100% back from the federal government in terms of federal revenues. And so the MassHealth program generates the highest, the largest portion of federal revenues in the state. More than 80% of all federal revenues that come into the state are through the MassHealth program. And then finally, the last slide just shows my contact information. Please feel free to reach out. Also, I direct you to our website. It's on the piece of paper, the infographic that I mentioned is out front. Please check out our website. We have a lot of materials there, chart packs, budget fact sheets, in-depth reports, and so forth. So I appreciate your looking there. And then we do have, to really, again, bring this back to the real impact of the program, there's a video that we are going to share with you now. And hopefully it will go well. I know there was some